There is a specific brain state where reality begins to respond in a way that feels almost unnatural to the logical mind. It's not a state of excitement, motivation, hope, or intense focus. It's not the state that comes from constant effort, repetition, or emotional intensity. In fact, the more someone tries to force this state, the further away it tends to feel. This is the reason why most people never experience it. Even after years of spiritual practices or manifestation work, they still miss this state. And that's because it feels quiet, almost empty when you enter it. The mind, conditioned to constantly seek stimulation, quickly dismisses it. But this state, despite what the mind may think, is the one that holds the key to collapsing reality. We've been taught that change requires us to act, to work harder, to create more energy and effort. The popular belief is that to change reality, we need to exert more force. This belief feeds our constant drive to push, work harder, and strive. But the brain state that collapses reality does not operate on the principle of addition. It operates on the principle of subtraction. It's about quieting the internal noise until consciousness can clearly choose the direction. For most people, this concept is challenging to grasp because we've been conditioned to think that to make something happen, we need to make more effort. However, the key to unlocking this brain state is not about adding energy, it's about removing resistance. Neuroscience reveals that most human brains spend the majority of their time in high beta brainwave activity. Beta is the state of problem solving, vigilance, anticipation, and identity maintenance. While this state helps us stay functional and productive, it also locks us into constant prediction loops. A brain stuck in prediction mode can never allow something truly new to emerge because novelty is linked to uncertainty, and uncertainty triggers fear. In that state, the nervous system is always scanning, always asking, what do I need to control next? But the problem with this is that the more we try to control, the more we reinforce the current state of reality, and the less we allow anything new to enter. This is where manifestation breaks down for most people. They try to create change from a brain state that is literally designed to preserve the current reality. The mind can change thoughts, can visualize new outcomes, but if the underlying state of the brain doesn't shift, then nothing will change in reality. The quantum field doesn't respond to thoughts in isolation, it responds to the coherence of the entire system. If the system, thoughts, emotions, body, energy, is in alignment, then the field can shift. But if the system is scattered with conflicting emotions and thoughts, it will only reinforce the current reality. This is why it's so important to understand that change doesn't require more effort, it requires more internal coherence. Consciousness doesn't come from the brain is simply an instrument through which consciousness expresses itself. But for consciousness to fully express itself, the instrument needs to be quiet. A noisy mind, constantly jumping from thought to thought, cannot allow consciousness to fully engage. That's why people who experience this brain state often describe manifestation as something that just happens. They didn't try harder, they didn't visualize more intensely, they just became internally still enough to allow the choice to happen on its own. Most people are deeply uncomfortable with this concept because it removes control from them. The mind has been trained to believe that change must be hard, that it must be earned through struggle and persistence. But the truth is, this state of stillness is not dangerous. In fact, it is the most powerful state to be in because it allows the field to organize itself around you. It's when the mind stops trying to force something that things begin to fall into place effortlessly. The mind hates this concept because it goes against everything we've been taught. We've been taught that progress must be hard, that we must constantly strive to reach the next level. But the truth is that the brain state that collapses reality is found when we stop striving and start allowing. The more the mind tries to force something, the more it pushes away the very thing it wants. The state of stillness, of quieting the internal noise, is where the true transformation begins. And this is why most people never access this brain state. They mistakenly believe that if they're not feeling intense motivation, if they're not striving, then nothing is happening.
But this is where the key difference lies. Stillness does not mean nothing is happening. It means the mind is no longer resisting change. And when that happens, reality begins to shift on its own. So how do you access this brain state? It's not about effort. It's not about forcing it to happen. It's about recognizing when you're slipping into this state and then allowing it to be. It's about understanding that the brain will resist, but if you can stay in the stillness and not force anything, the system will begin to align. When you stop the mental chatter, when you stop the urgency, when you stop chasing something, the brain begins to shift from high beta to a more relaxed state. And in that state, the magic happens. In that state, you will find yourself making the choices that will collapse reality and move you toward the life you desire. The challenge for most people is that they don't recognize this brain state when it happens. It feels foreign to them, so they resist it. They think they should be doing more, trying harder, pushing forward. But the real secret is that the less you do, the more powerful the change becomes. The brain state that collapses reality is accessed when the internal noise ceases, when the tension dissolves, and when you stop the constant need to control the outcome. When you can allow the quiet, you will find that the field begins to move in your favor. It is important to note that stillness is not the same as passivity. This brain state does not require you to do nothing. It requires you to stop doing things that create resistance. You still take action, but it is effortless, it's inspired, it's aligned. And that's why this brain state is so powerful. It doesn't require you to push for progress. It requires you to allow it. And when you allow it, everything begins to fall into place naturally. In the next part, we will explore how to access this brain state intentionally and why it is so critical for manifestation. We will dive deeper into how to release the resistance that prevents us from experiencing it and how to cultivate a state of coherence that allows reality to respond with ease. Once you understand how to move into this brain state, you will never have to chase manifestation again. Instead, you will simply become a magnet for the life you want.
When we understand that manifestation is not about effort, but about alignment, we can begin to unravel the deeper truth of how reality works. The future doesn't unfold as we've been taught, one step after the other in a linear fashion. Instead, the future is already forming in potential. What we experience as the present moment is just the convergence of multiple futures that are calling to us. Each possibility is a signal, a pull, a subtle tug at our attention, guiding us toward the version of ourselves that aligns with it. And when we reach that state of alignment, when we are truly in harmony with what is to come, reality begins to shift effortlessly. At first, this can feel unsettling. We've been conditioned to believe that progress must be hard. We've been taught that the more we do, the more we force, the more we push, the closer we get to the life we want. But reality doesn't work like that. Progress isn't made by forcing your way through barriers or by scrambling to control every outcome. True progress is made by finding coherence between who you are on the inside and what you're drawing toward you on the outside. It's a meeting point of intention and energy, a space where your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, and your very being align with the possibility of the future. But what often happens is that the mind gets in the way. We are trained to think that we need to strive for everything. We need to constantly chase after what we want, constantly measure our progress, and constantly react to the signs that life gives us. This reaction creates tension in our system, tension that keeps us from accessing the brain state that collapses reality. It's not that we're not doing the work, it's that we're doing it from a place of internal conflict. The mind is constantly running, constantly assessing, constantly predicting what will happen next. And in that state, the system is never still enough to truly align with the potential of the future. But here's the breakthrough. The brain state that collapses reality is one where you stop reacting, where you stop predicting, where you stop trying to control. It's the moment when the mind quiets down enough to let the future come to you. When that happens, everything becomes easier. Actions feel effortless, decisions come naturally, the right opportunities present themselves without struggle. This doesn't mean you do nothing.
It means you stop forcing things to happen. You allow things to unfold, and you trust that they will. We've all experienced moments where things just seemed to fall into place, where everything clicked without much effort. Maybe you were trying to figure something out, struggling with a decision, and then suddenly the answer appeared, clear and simple. That's the state of alignment at work. In those moments, you weren't working harder or forcing a result. You were simply available to the solution that was already there. The moment you stopped fighting against the flow of life, reality began to move in your favor. The key is to stop focusing on the outcome and start focusing on your internal state. The brain doesn't need more effort to manifest the life you want. It needs more coherence. It needs alignment. It needs stillness. When your mind is at peace, when your body is calm, when your emotions are settled, you are in the perfect state to receive what's coming. This is the state where manifestation happens naturally, where everything aligns effortlessly, and where the pull toward your future is so strong that it feels almost magnetic. This state, however, is not easy to maintain. The mind will try to interrupt. It will create stories, doubts, fears, and urgencies. The brain is designed to predict, to make sense of everything, to feel in control. But when you are in alignment, there is nothing to control. You simply move with the flow of life, letting go of the need to dictate what comes next. This is where most people struggle. They confuse the quiet, still moments with a lack of progress, but in reality, that's the moment when everything is realigning. It's when the future has already made its move, and now it's just waiting for you to catch up. This is why manifestation feels sudden to some. It's not that the universe suddenly decides to give you what you want. It's that when you stop fighting for it, when you stop needing it to happen, the universe responds in kind. The energy of the universe matches your energy, and that match is the key to manifestation. When your energy is aligned with the outcome you desire, the universe has no choice but to respond. This is why alignment is so crucial. It's not just about visualizing what you want, it's about becoming the person who already has it. When you embody that energy, the universe mirrors it back to you. In this state, time begins to feel different. There is no longer a need to measure progress, to track how far you've come or how much longer it will take. Time doesn't move in a linear fashion when you're in alignment. It begins to feel like everything is happening all at once. There's no waiting, no urgency, no anxiety. Everything is unfolding as it should, at its own pace. This is the beauty of alignment. It removes the pressure and the rush. It allows life to unfold at its own speed without forcing it. But most people don't experience this alignment because they don't recognize it when it comes. They mistake it for boredom, for laziness, or for a lack of motivation. They think they need to push harder or work more, but in reality, they're just resisting the natural flow of the universe. The brain doesn't like silence. It doesn't like stillness. It wants to be busy, to be doing, to be achieving. But the key to manifestation is found in the quiet moments, in the stillness of the mind, when you are no longer attached to the outcome. The process of manifestation becomes smoother, faster, and more effortless when you are in this state of alignment. The more you let go, the more things seem to fall into place. The future doesn't need to be forced. It doesn't need to be chased. All you need to do is align yourself with it, trust the process, and allow it to unfold. This is the brain state that collapses reality, the one where you stop fighting, stop struggling, and start allowing. In the next part, we will explore how to intentionally cultivate this state, how to create the conditions for alignment, and how to stop resisting the natural flow of life. We will dive deeper into the neuroscience behind this state and how to make it a permanent part of your reality. Because once you access this state, manifestation will no longer feel like a struggle. It will feel like a natural, effortless part of your life.
The ability to manifest effectively lies in understanding and mastering the brain state that collapses reality. This state isn't about thinking harder or pushing yourself beyond limits. It's about quieting the mind, releasing attachment, and finding coherence between your thoughts, emotions, and actions. As we've explored, the brain operates on a principle where urgency and control create resistance, but stillness and alignment allow reality to shift naturally. However, most people struggle with this because they're so used to striving, to pushing through barriers, and to measuring their progress. Society rewards action and hustle, but true manifestation operates on a completely different principle, letting go of the need to control and allowing the future to guide you. When you reach this state of stillness, it can feel counterintuitive. We're conditioned to believe that manifestation requires constant action, that we must be actively working toward our desires at all times. But the truth is, the most powerful manifestations happen when we stop trying to make things happen. When we stop forcing the timeline, the answer becomes clearer. The universe doesn't operate on the same time frame that we do. It doesn't need your effort to create change. It needs your alignment. Alignment is where the magic happens. It's the moment when you are so attuned to the frequency of your desires that they begin to unfold in front of you without struggle. This is where the real power lies. Once you stop worrying about how or when something will happen, once you stop scanning for signs, once you stop asking if it's working, everything begins to fall into place. The key is learning how to hold the space of stillness, of allowing. It's learning to trust the process even when there's no visible evidence of progress. This is the paradox of manifestation. It's not about doing more, it's about doing less. The more you let go, the more you align with the version of yourself that has already manifested the reality you desire. The universe responds to this alignment with ease. One of the most powerful aspects of this process is how it shifts your perception of time. Time no longer feels like something you have to control or rush. You stop measuring your progress in days, weeks, or months, and instead begin to experience time as a fluid, natural progression. There is no rush because you understand that everything is happening exactly when it's supposed to. The feeling of urgency dissolves, and in its place, there is a quiet knowing that everything is already unfolding in perfect timing. This shift in perception is where things truly start to change. When you let go of the need for control, the universe no longer feels like something you have to chase. It feels like something that is simply unfolding alongside you. But how do you maintain this alignment? The key is in consistency. The brain that collapses reality is one that has learned to stay in alignment with the present moment, to stop overthinking and overanalyzing. It's a brain that has learned to trust that everything is already happening as it should. It's about practicing consistency without attachment and trusting that the universe will move when the timing is right. And this doesn't mean that you stop taking action. It means that your actions come from a place of ease rather than effort. Your actions become more intentional, more aligned with your true desires, and less reactive to external circumstances. When you are in alignment, opportunities present themselves effortlessly. They don't require you to work hard for them. Instead, they arrive naturally, often in unexpected ways. The more you remain open and available to the universe, the more it provides for you. Opportunities that once felt out of reach suddenly become available to you, and decisions that once felt difficult become clear. The key to this is maintaining a state of coherence in your thoughts, emotions, and actions. When these elements are in alignment, the universe has no choice but to reflect that alignment back to you in the form of opportunities, relationships, and experiences. But this process is not always immediate. It takes time for the internal state to stabilize. The brain doesn't immediately adjust to this new way of being. It takes practice, patience, and trust. During this time, you may feel moments of doubt, moments of uncertainty. You may be tempted to go back to your old patterns, to try to control things again. But this is where the real work happens. This is where you have the opportunity to show yourself that you can maintain alignment, even in the face of doubt.
The more you stay grounded in your alignment, the stronger your connection to the universe becomes. And as you continue to practice, this alignment becomes your default state, and the universe responds with increasing synchronicity and flow. The ultimate lesson here is that the universe is always in motion, always working in your favor, but it only responds when you stop trying to force it. When you stop worrying about the outcome arrives. When you stop trying to make things happen, they happen effortlessly. This is the power of alignment, the ability to stop resisting what is and to trust that the future is already unfolding in the way it is meant to. Once you learn to let go of the need for control, the universe moves in your favor in ways that are beyond your imagination. As we wrap up, it's important to remember that manifestation is not a linear process. It's not about taking step after step and crossing things off a to-do list. It's about tuning in to the energy of the future that already exists and allowing that energy to guide you. The more you align with that energy, the more you will see your desires unfold in your reality. You are not chasing the future is guiding you to it. And once you understand this, manifestation becomes less about effort and more about trust, ease, and allowing. The true power of manifestation lies in your ability to stay in alignment with your future self, with the version of you that already has what you desire. When you are aligned with that version of yourself, the universe has no choice but to mirror that alignment back to you in the form of reality. You don't have to chase your desires. All you have to do is align with them, and the universe will take care of the rest. Now that you understand the process of alignment, you can begin to practice it in your everyday life. Focus on staying grounded, staying present, and trusting the flow of life. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes, and before you know it, your manifestations will begin to unfold before your eyes, effortlessly and in perfect timing.